It's machine, it's Bradley, it's Wyatt here with you on a beautiful Wednesday evening at the end of May. Wyatt, it's great to have you here on Man vs. Machine. Welcome.
I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to chop it up with you on these running backs today.
I have to tell you, this is totally on brand. Wyatt has the beard. He fits the profile of the man. So moving forward, Wyatt is going to be the man, and I will reprise my role as the machine. Let's get the sounder in. I'm the machine. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Necessary.
You, appreciate it. Yeah, as Wyatt mentioned tonight, we're going to be talking about running back fades and targets for the 2025 season. We're each going to give you some players that, the NFL draft has happened. Most of the free agency waves have come and gone. We're now getting into OTAs. Rookie minicamp has passed. A lot of news is circulating. Many quotes are coming out. There's lots of noise, not a ton of news. But Wyatt, we're going to get into these running backs that we are really into and also fading in. This could be redraft. This is best ball. This is this year, man versus machine. We can also offer a little bit of dynasty if you want, Wyatt, but focusing right now on how teams are being drafted, especially because Underdog has launched a lot of their tournaments, and so many people are getting into there. We're in Fast Draft. The tournaments there are filling up daily, so make sure you guys are checking out Fast Draft. Use promo code STACK for 100% deposit match up to $50. Why, we're going to kick it off with a running back in Cleveland. Both of us hail not too far from the Cleveland area, and the running back that I am targeting in, yes, even my dynasty rookie drafts, in my best ball drafts, in redraft this year, it's Quinshon Judkins. He gets the draft capital that we wanted in Cleveland. The opportunity is there. The stars aligned. And, people not as familiar with the Cleveland team may not realize that Stefanski has won Coach of the Year twice. As the Cleveland Browns head coach, he knows what he's doing.
Quietly. Yeah.
And so this is a player that immediately fits the Nick Chubb role. Jerome Ford, they had to renegotiate his contract. Yes, they like him in Cleveland, but it's clear that he's not able to handle for long-term the bell cow responsibilities, and Judkins was able to do that at Ohio State. So the opportunity is there. There are questions about this Cleveland offense, no doubt, but the opportunity is going to supersede, and the value at Judkins, I just can't pass him up. He's being drafted as like a mid running back too at this point, and the upside, if things go right, is RB1 season. So I'm targeting Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, I dig this one. My quick notes here for him are that, yes, he may not have a huge pass catching profile, but like you said about Jerome Ford, he had to renegotiate his contract to stay with the team. He had to take less money to stay there. He is presumably the third down back, but we don't know how much time he's going to get. Also, Dylan Sampson, not the biggest pass catcher in college either. They drafted him as well. So there's a possibility he gets some of that. And yeah, this offense might not be very good. Okay. No doubt about that. The QB situation is muddy. But Kevin Stefanski has consistently been at the top of pace of play his time as coach for the Cleveland Browns. They're going to run a lot of plays, no matter what's going on with their QB. We've already seen bad QB play there, lots of plays from there. And that just gives them lots more opportunities for fantasy points.
Love the opportunity for Quinshon Judkins. Wyatt, hit us with your RB to target for 2025.
Yeah, I felt this was was meant to be here because I'm going to take Judkins' teammate in college, that's TreVeyon Henderson. Big fan of the player, really explosive in all facets of the game, runner and receiver. Probably one of the best pass catching or pass blocking running backs we've seen coming into the NFL in recent history. I think he instantly has the third downs for the Patriots. I think he's going to mix in the running plays. I still expect Ramondre Stevens to have a role, no doubt about it. Henderson is probably best as like a 15-18 opportunity guy, not a 20 plus, but that's okay. He's going to live in the Jahmyr Gibbs archetype. Not saying is Jahmyr Gibbs. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I just think that's the type of player he is, where he can be dynamic across the field. And let's be honest, this is probably an ascending offense. Drake May looked really good as a rookie. They've done everything they can to build around him, attack the offensive line, do whatever they can to find weapons around him. And They've tried to find pass catchers. They're still struggling to find pass catchers. I think they need Henderson in the passing game. I'm expecting a lot of pass catching from him. Big fan of his projection as a rookie.
Yeah, TreVeyon Henderson, he's going to get opportunity. He got the draft capital. It was a good landing spot. Ramondre Stevenson was extended last offseason, so this was not a head coach that has worked with him. So there is this confidence of TreVeyon Henderson is the guy. He's going to get pretty quick opportunity to work. You mentioned the pass catchers for New England. Just today, there's some drama from Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Wyatt.
He might be wide receiver one for them. He might be.
He very well might be. There's also, it seems like, an extended timeline for Diggs as well. A couple days ago, Diggs will be ready for week 1. And now today, Diggs will be ready for week 4. And I don't think if the timeline keeps shifting, which that's not a good sign for the New England Patriots from a wide receiver perspective, but for a pass catching running back like Henderson, I agree with you. This is good news.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Wyatt, we'll stay in Ohio. There's a lot of Ohio themes, and yes, maybe the bias is there with our background, but Chase Brown is a player that I'm targeting, and he survived the draft. That was he was a big winner out of the draft. Yes, the Bengals took Taj Brooks in a different profile of a player, but very late draft capital, 6th round player. Looking at what happened last year, the Bengals, they have Chase, they have Higgins, they have Gesicki, but Brown handled 80 to 100% of the touches once Zach Moss was out. They tried to bring Khalil Herbert, didn't trust him. It's clear that the coaches trust Chase Brown to be the guy and just handle the touches. And yes, his profile he's got nice speed. He has an imperfect profile. But if the coaches have belief in this player, they've not given any signal that they're willing to move off of Chase Brown. They could have brought in a free agent running back this offseason. They could have drafted someone with like day 2 capital, but they didn't. And Chase Brown is going to continue to handle a very heavy workload on what is one of the most dynamic offenses in the NFL. So I'm not going to move away from him. He's a target for me.
Yeah, I think there are reasons to doubt that he's going to have the same workload as he did in 2024 over the across the entire season. Whereas, last year they were able to do it over basically half a season. But I think the upside is too good to not bet on the possibility of it happening again in 2025, especially in a good offense like this. And because what's behind him does not worry you at this point. He might not have the 90%, touch share that he was having all back half of it last year. But if it's 75% over an entire season, we're still super psyched about what his projection is in 2025. So I'm in on this one too.
We're here for that. Wyatt, hit us with another big-time running back target.
Yeah, Breece Hall. So, people were disappointed in his 2024 season, and I guess there is some reason to be disappointed. Only 15.1 PPR points per game, which was actually the lowest of his career, surprisingly. But I take that as somewhat of a positive. He scored 15.1 points per game, and people were upset. And now his price has fallen, and it's fallen to a point where if you get that same result, you're actually going to be happy with it. We've got Justin Fields there. I know that he's not going to be passing to running backs as much as a normal QB would as a running QB, but he does open up rushing lanes, so he should improve the overall efficiency of the running back group, especially for Breece Hall. And this is another thing similar to what I was saying with TreVeyon Henderson, where there's a lack of pass catchers here. They kind of need Breece Hall in the passing game. I think they're going to get those running backs involved a lot. And I know there's also the worry of when Aaron Glenn got there, he immediately said, we like all our running backs. We got to get them all involved. What that meant to me is they're just going to be running the ball a lot. There's going to be plenty of touches to go around for these running backs. Breece Hall is easily the best running back in that backfield. It's not even close. I expect him to have a very good workload in that offense. I expect this offense to be good enough to support his ADP right now.
Yeah, we're not afraid of Braylon Allen or Isaiah Davis here, Wyatt. Breece Hall is a certified baller, and you mentioned the running lanes. That's what I'm very excited about. And the Jets' confidence, at least for 1 year, in Justin Fields. There's no one behind Fields. He's not in a quarter. We're not worried about organizational situation where is a pocket quarterback going to be able to step in and disrupt the flow of the no, it's going to be Justin Fields and Breece Hall this year and throwing to Garrett Wilson. I agree with you. Again, the Jets are lacking pass catchers. Who's their wide receiver too? Alan Lazard.
Maybe
Love me.
Josh Reynolds, maybe.
maybe. Love me some Lazard. Go Pack, go. But look, Lazard had some big games last year. Yes, with Aaron Rodgers at helm. But the reality is if Alan Lazard is it's consolidated to a Breece Hall and a Garrett Wilson. So yes, I agree with you. Breece Hall going to be a guy that we want to be in on. This is a deeper cut. My target here, more of a handcuff. It's fine. It's fine. Wyatt is scratching his beard, his pronounced man beard, for JP Mason. That is the Vikings running back that was acquired via trade this past offseason from the San Francisco 49ers. And looking at the depth chart, it is Aaron Jones, and then it's Jordan Mason. And yes, Jordan Mason hasn't eclipsed 10 fantasy points per game in a season, but what was really encouraging last year was when Christian McCaffrey was out, he was efficient. He handled the carries. He had 153 rush attempts, 5.2 yards per carry each of the last 3 seasons. So even in the small samples and large samples, he's still very efficient. This is a handcuff target. We know that Aaron Jones is getting up there in age. He is certainly still a dynamic player, but we've seen Aaron Jones break down. He cannot handle a full workload. And that's why bringing in a player like Jordan Mason, who has historically been able to step in to the running back one spot when the starter is out, it's going to be seamless. And they went out and got him. They acquired him from San Francisco. So for the right price, he's a player that I'm targeting because I also see this offense as one of the highest flying offenses. Kevin O'Connell is top 3 in pass attempts per game. And this is a player that is able to catch some passes out of the backfield. The offense is going to be in scoring position all the time. So this is more of an organizational pick, and we have confidence in the talent of Jordan Mason.
He's a really interesting one for me. And I think something you said at the end there is really, really important for him. And it's depending on the price, because I do really like Jordan Mason as a player. I thought he looked really impressive last year. And some people might say, like, well, he's propped up by San Francisco. And I mean, to an extent, that's true. Like, Shanahan obviously runs really good offense, but so does Kevin O'Connell, and their offenses aren't that different. They do a lot of similar things. So, like, I think that change really, it doesn't matter to me, going from San Francisco to Vikings. I still think really good things there. But you look at his price like an underdog, he's nearing 100 overall now. He's starting climbing up close to that, which is getting kind of pricey, but I still like it there because the potential, what if, Aaron Jones is old, he gets hurt, it's not unlikely for that to happen. He represents a very big value gain. And the same could be true for redraft leagues, but at that price, I'm a little bit less interested in redraft leagues. If he can, if that's the price there too, or even if he continues to climb from here, like Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason's, their ADPs are not that far from each other right now. And straight up, I probably take Aaron Jones just because I know he's the starter and I know he's a pass catcher and expect him to get the pass catching. So if that price continues to climb or stays this way, like in redraft, I don't know if I'm into it, but it is a backfield in general I want to bet on because I think the prices are kind of low in general for like the backfield as a whole for what that offense can do.
Yeah, I'm overall bullish on the Minnesota Vikings this year. JJ McCarthy, all of it, like, just chips in on them. So
yeah,
I hear you though that the concern is that if he continues to climb, maybe he's just a player that we just take at ADP occasionally to get exposure. But for right now, like, we want chips in on these types of offenses. But hit us with your next running back here, Wyatt.
This one's kind of simple for me. It's Rico Dowdle. Kind of impressive year last year. I mean, like, nothing special, but he just came in and did the job, like, well, over 1,300 yards for Dallas. Like, I think that's one of the quietest 1,300 yards we've seen in a long time. But, he goes over to Carolina this year, and he's pretty obviously just the handcuff to Chuba Hubbard there. And he gets drafted behind a lot of other presumed handcuffs. But we've seen that he can handle a full workload and produce with it. It's just like one of those simple bets like, hey, this looks like a good handcuff, but he's really cheap for being a really good handcuff. And I'm just going to keep betting on those whenever I see them. Like Jordan Mason and Rico Dowdle, their projection, how different is it? And they're what, 5-6 rounds in different ADP difference. So it's really simple bet for me.
Love it. And Carolina is also an ascending offense. We believe
Agreed.
in Bryce Young. We believe in the offensive pieces that the Panthers have put in place over the last couple of years. And Chuba Hubbard is good enough, but again, this is a handcuff attack, and Rico Dowdle has been a producer in Dallas, where the offense sputtered at times last year for Dallas, and he still was producing solid RB2 weeks for us. So with Carolina in year 2 of the head coach there, and Bryce Young finally looking like the number 1 overall pick type of talent, yes, Rico Dowdle a good target. This one, my next target's a little controversial. Wyatt, the people have been hating all off season, and look, I get it. We we love to hate on DeAndre Swift. He just does not have the dog mentality. That's his biggest knock. Like, he's been bounced around and he just can't stick anymore and was banished from Detroit, blah, blah, blah. But here's my argument for DeAndre Swift. If they wanted to, they would. If the Bears wanted to move off of Swift, they would have. They could have. But instead, they went after Loveland. They went after Burden. They could have gone after someone in free agency. And yes, J.K. Dobbins and Nick Chubb are still lurking out there. But if they wanted to, they would. And looking at where Swift was last year, yes, a different coaching staff, different offense. I get it. But he was still one of only 6 running backs to have at least a 60% rush share. So do we believe in Roschon Johnson? No. Like, I know that some fantasy gamers like Roschon, and he's a special teams guy and occasionally will get some rushes in there, but he had 1 productive season at Texas. He gets 4th round draft capital. DeAndre Swift has been a big producer in different spots throughout his career. And now we have, if we believe in the Bears offense taking the next steps, and they've signaled to us that, well, there's no movement in the running back room other than a 6th round draft pick in this year's rookie draft. Like, DeAndre Swift is the answer here. That's so obvious that people just are so hating on Swift. I get it that there's this bias, but look, Swift is in this prime opportunity, and there's really no one else who is anywhere close as talented in that running back room.
So I had like 7 days where I was in on DeAndre Swift's price, because it was like before the NFL draft, there was just like, it seemed like there was such a high likelihood that they were going to draft someone who would have a serious effect on DeAndre Swift that I was like, right, I'm keeping my hands free of DeAndre Swift before the draft. I don't want to get in that business right now. And then, it doesn't happen, right? He gets through the NFL draft free. And I'm like, all right, now's the time to pounce on DeAndre Swift's price. And there was like a few days where the price was still kind of good. And now he's like, I think he's officially entered the 7th round on Underdog. Which is starting to reach the point where it's like, I don't know because like J.K. Dobbins is still looming. Maybe Nick Chubb. I don't really have a lot of faith that Nick Chubb has anything left, but like it could be another body. I do think Roschon Johnson is still going to get a lot of the short yardage stuff, which, lowers Swift's touchdown share a little bit, which just kind of like lowers his ceiling just enough where I'm just like, it's like, okay, like I'm not in or out necessarily at his price. I'm kind of just like, it's fine where it is. I liked it, a couple weeks ago. It was like really good, but right now it's like just fine for me.
Well, so okay, let's play a little game, Wyatt, because
okay,
I pulled up the ADPs. DeAndre Swift or Caleb Johnson.
Caleb Johnson very easily for me.
DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard.
It's a tough one, and I know what you're doing here. I know what you're doing because he's going to come up later. It is Pollard by a smidge.
And DeAndre Swift or Aaron Jones?
I'll take Swift there because the age and potential injury history I think is a little bit worse. With Aaron Jones compared to DeAndre Swift, more concerns there.
Sure. I'm still very bullish on DeAndre. Give me all the Bears. Ben Johnson, let's go. For those who don't know, I live in the Detroit area, and Lions fever is so heavy. I I've resisted the Lions fever, but my in-laws, my wife, everyone is just breathing the Lions. So Ben Johnson, there's a lot of love for him, and maybe that's coloring my bias as well. But Wyatt, hit us with your next running back target.
DJ Giddens, who went a little bit later than I would have liked in the NFL draft. I'm not terribly surprised by it because he's kind of an unrefined running back, a little bit late to develop in football, but was really productive at Kansas State. He's highly athletic, but he hasn't refined all of his athletic abilities quite yet on the football field. His vision's a little rough. He's kind of needs to be in an offense where they're going to tell him there's the hole. It basically has to be a gap scheme for him right now. He's good with the ball in his hands as a receiver, but actually getting the ball in his hands can be tough because his hands are pretty bad, pretty inconsistent, and he's an awful pass blocker. Like literally, you cannot have him on passing downs. With all that said, I know I just kind of like took him down a peg there for a second, but he's easily the backup running back to Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. And it's that simple for me. I don't think that anybody else is going to really compete with him for that spot. And when you know that you have a backup running back going as late as DJ Giddens does on, say, Underdog, where he's going in the 180s, that's just a bet that I'm going to make in general, like every time.
Yeah, love me some DJ Giddens. The clear pathway for RB2. Like this was, I'm surprised. I was in a Dynasty draft, and Giddens was lasting for a while, going after Jarquez Hunter, going after like RB3s, Kyle Monangini, like the Chicago, whatever.
Monangai, yeah.
Monangai.
I had to practice that one.
Look, I'm pretty good with pronouncing the names, but that one I just straight gave up. Wyatt.
You didn't think you'd have to learn it. Let's be honest.
No. Let's be real here. But that's wild that I think he is underrated. And I think the ADP you mentioned is totally worth targeting, a player that has clear pathway to RB2. Because who else is there? Tyler Goodson?
Yeah. Not worried.
No. So I don't know why the show sheet put Tyrone Tracy as a player that I was targeting. He's clearly not a player that I was targeting. I don't know what Sick Bradley was doing putting Tyrone Tracy. Not only are we getting news reports out today that beat reporters are saying that Cam Scatabo is going to be the guy by October, like very, very quickly. Sure. But I was already not a believer in Tyrone Tracy, but I am back in on the Blake Corum train, Wyatt. I'm not worried about Jarquez Hunter. Blake Corum, better draft capital, better producer in college, better pedigree. Like this is a player, again, like Kyron Williams handles 70% plus of the touches in that backfield, but he has injury history. Blake Corum can handle that. He is a producer. This is an offense that we're betting on. This is a very late round. And in some places, Jarquez Hunter is going ahead of Blake Corum in some places. So he's the RB2. Yes, they wanted another back because the Rams have been bitten with running back injuries throughout the last couple of years. So I don't blame them for taking another running back with Hunter, but Blake Corum is a player that I don't think got really a fair shake in year one. And I'm back in on the talent, especially because his price has deflated significantly. So I'm here for that, Wyatt.
I'm back with you big time on this one. I think Blake Corum's someone you should be attacking everywhere right now. Obviously fast draft, 6 rounds, Blake Corum's not really on your radar there, but anywhere that, goes deep, like Blake Corum should absolutely be on your radar. I mean, Underdog, he's, I believe now crossed over the 200s. He's been falling so much, which is really wild to me. I think this is an ADP that when we get closer to the season and people realize that he is still the handcuff running back there, he's going to jump multiple rounds, but you have an opportunity right now to get him extremely cheap. The Rams draft a running back every single year. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're the new backup running back. Like Blake Corum didn't do anything to lose that position last year. He didn't really have an opportunity to play much because, well, Kyron was healthy for the most part. There's nothing really here. I don't get it. They just used a 3rd round pick on him last year. Why now all of a sudden is he going to get replaced by a 4th round running back? I just don't get it.
Yeah, we're here for Blake Corum, and on underdog, Jarquez Hunter 195, Blake Corum 202. So yeah, I think that's a misprice there, Wyatt. Bring us home with your last target here, Wyatt.
Yeah, continuing my little trend here of handcuff running backs I think are underpriced. It's Will Shipley. I don't know if people just like didn't realize that he was the backup there. Maybe it's because people still believe in AJ Dillon. I don't know if you're still out there, but I'm sure there's people out there other than just AJ Dillon's mom who still believe in him in the NFL. But I mean, Shade, I'm sure he's a great human, but let's be honest, like he has not really been a very good running back in recent history. I don't see any reason why he would be over Will Shipley. Will Shipley had a really good career at Clemson, showed the ability to handle a lot of touches, is athletic. He's the backup running back to Saquon Barkley, and he goes really deep into drafts. Like he started to climb recently, actually. I think people still started to catch on like a little bit. Like he's on the 180s in underdog right now. I know he started in the 200s, obviously, but it's still a fantastic price for what is the handcuff running back for the Eagles.
Right, and Kenneth Gainwell is in Pittsburgh, so you don't have the depth. It's just AJ Dillon and Will Shipley. And many moons ago, I took Shipley in a Devy league, and it didn't quite pan out the way I wanted to. But it's all right. It's all right. Hopefully, he will. If Saquon fails, which he's age apex. Yes, coming off a massive workload season with injury history. There's pathway for these running backs who crush, 1 year, and then Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, like big seasons, and then an injury happens. So he's the target. I agree with you there. All right. Very good. Before we move on to our fades, a word from the Podfather about our Dynasty Deluxe package.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
That's right. Get the Dynasty Deluxe package. Very good. Well, we've had some optimism, Wyatt. The first half was all about players that we love, and we like their price, or we like their opportunities, or we like their talent. These are players that we want to be drafting. But we're going to turn the dial down to players that are fades for us. And how dare I lead off with a major fade? Wyatt's already plucking the hairs out of his beard. And this is a fade here of Derrick Henry. Look, maybe this man is built. He is built differently. But like all running backs, he has to eventually fall off. And yes, he crushed last year with the Baltimore Ravens. The offensive scheme is beautiful. But like, this is not so much a like numbers take. Yes, my projections are just a little bit lower than the ADP on Derrick Henry. But this was also as someone who rostered Derrick Henry last year. And it wasn't until the end of games most often where he was like 14 for 50 through like for the first 3 quarters and then maybe into the fourth quarter. And then he gashed, like he wore down defenses. And that's something that he can still continue to do. But my concern was that, especially for this Baltimore Ravens team, that's starting to be a sign for him to slow down a little bit. And I know that there's not really a handcuff. It's Justice Hill pretty much as the other guy. But this is my vibe take of a player that is on the wrong side of the age apex. Yet, like, there are still positives. Like, I'm not going to get 0 Derrick Henry, but he's also a player that he had 19 touchdowns. He had almost 2,000 total yards. Like, this was a massive season. And now it's even more wear and tear. It's starting to show signs, and I get it. It may not be a perfect pick, but it all is also a player that I'm not like going out of my way. Like last year, I was really in on Derrick Henry as like, I don't know, I had him as a top 15 player overall. Like I was clicking him everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm softening a little bit on Derrick Henry.
So I hate to give answers like this, but with Derrick Henry, I've kind of just like said, Jesus, take the wheel with him over the last couple of years, because he is a pure unicorn at the running back position. No one else is like him. Your age model. He laughs at your age models. He does not care. And so, like in any sort of format, tournament format where you're playing portfolio, underdog, fast draft, anything like that, whenever my pick lines up with his ADP, I'm probably just going to take him, just to make sure I've got some exposure to Derrick Henry, because he's ridiculous. Am I going out of my way to draft a very old running back who's had an enormous amount of touches in his career? No, I'm not. I'm not drafting him above ADP, but I've just kind of like bowed down to Derrick Henry and said, well, when your ADP lines up, I'm going to take you, Now in my redraft leagues, it might be a little bit different for me. I'm probably going to have a tough time actually making the pick on Derrick Henry, because in tournaments, you have to beat a lot of people, which means you have to hit on a lot of high-end outcomes and hit on a lot of risky plays, which Derrick Henry truthfully is. Despite him producing year in and year out, he is still a risky play. Okay. But in your 12-man home league, your 10-man home league, those are the only people you have to beat. You can win without taking those big risks. So there, I'm much more likely to, just draft the next best wide receiver instead of, Derrick Henry.
Sure. Well, hit us with your running back fade, Wyatt.
Well, Tony Pollard. And obviously you set this up a little bit earlier. For me, this is more about, I like Tyjae Spears' price compared to Tony Pollard. And why would I draft Tony Pollard when I could just be drafting Tyjae Spears several rounds later? And while last year Pollard did have that backfield mostly to himself, we do know that Tyjae Spears has been really efficient whenever he's gotten the opportunity. We've seen him get games when Pollard is out, and he's performed very well with them. He's a very good pass catcher. He's the young guy here. There's a possibility that split gets a little bit more narrow, tightens up between those two, and we see Tyjae Spears getting a little bit more of that. And when he's just going so much later than Tony Pollard, I just want to bet on that and not have to pay his price, Tony Pollard's price, especially when you look at the players that he generally goes around. I just like the bets around him a lot more than betting on Tony Pollard, especially in this Titans office. I know like he was pretty good for how bad the offense was last year. I don't know how good the offense is going to be this year. It's just,
it can't be any worse than last year, right?
Listen, I will never say it can't get any worse, because we always say it can't get any worse, and it can always get worse. There's lots of times that it can get worse. Look at Deshaun Watson since he became a Cleveland Brown. Every year we said it can't get worse. And what did it do? Okay, so
historically bad. Historically bad, Wyatt.
So you won't hear me say that. It can always get worse. But it is certainly very hard to get worse than it was last year. I'll say that. But yeah, it's just, the collection of things around Tony Pollard. I think he's fine. I still think Tony Pollard is a good player. I think he's a fine player. In fact, I would say his price in general is fine. It's just the players around him I'd rather have. And if I'm going to invest in that backfield, I'd rather do it with Tyjae Spears.
Rather do it with Spears as well. He was efficient in his first year as a rookie. And then, as you mentioned, when Pollard was out, he stepped up in the fantasy championships last year. That was major wins. A lot of tournament winning teams had Tyjae Spears buried on the RB depth charts. There were a couple teams that looked pretty good with his 20+ point outcomes. But you mentioned, Spears and Pollard, Pollard going around DeAndre Swift. But then you just got to keep scrolling for Spears, RB 42, 136 overall. Yeah, that's a price I can be in on, especially because, like, look at who else is going around that spot. Jaden Blue, Javonte Williams, Trey Benson, like those are handcuffs. Tyjae Spears is a handcuff plus. Like he's still going to get touches, even if Pollard is the lead back. So I think I agree with you. Spears is a mispriced. He might even be in one of the targets. What goes up must come down.
Yes.
Well, a player that I am fading big time, James Cook. James Cook, it's the touchdown regression argument. It's the off-season drama. It's the all of that to get like the offense. He had almost 200 fewer receiving yards last year on a team where you would have expected James Cook to get more passing work with lack of receivers. Like it was Khalil Shakir, right? As one of the lead receivers on the Buffalo Bills. So with fewer receiving yards, touchdown regression about to hit, the Bills offense is good, but to get 18 touchdowns from him plus what Josh Allen will rush in, for him to he was RB11 in fantasy points per game and scored 18 touchdowns. The pathway for him to replicate top 12 is very difficult, I think, if you're looking at him from that perspective. And the ADPs right now, James Cook, RB 14. So he's almost at where he was last year. Not a player that I'm targeting. I would rather take, a Chuba Hubbard a couple rounds later, right? Or Breece Hall is one spot ahead of James Cook. Give me Breece Hall easily. That's not even a thought, but they're going 4 spots apart. So James Cook is a player that hands off, right?
For better or worse, I've kind of just been out on James Cook for his entire career. Just his profile coming out of college always seemed like a player who wouldn't really get a full workload. And last year, changed my mind a little bit. Like I'm definitely scared of being wrong about James Cook now, just because we saw him have the ability to have this amount of touchdowns. But as you point out, like it's not sustainable, what he did. He did pick up that short yardage role for the Bills, which is great. Like it definitely improves his chances of scoring an amount of touchdowns that we really like, which before last season, we weren't sure was ever going to happen.
Right.
So I am now scared of being wrong of James Cook. I wasn't ever really scared of him before. But now that we know he has that role, I certainly am worried that I could be wrong about him, but it's just too unsustainable. We know Josh Allen is going to be involved around the goal line. It wouldn't surprise me if Ray Davis gets involved around the goal line as well. So yeah, and the contract extension stuff, we'll see what happens with that, but it certainly seems like
he's been very vocal about his wanting massive money, and the Bills are like, "You crazy, dude."
Yeah, like that kind of thing I don't normally worry a ton about. Teams tend to kind of work those things out, but like James Cook, you're not worth $15 million a year. No, again, not trying to throw any shade towards James Cook. It's just the way the NFL works. Like not many running backs are worth that much. Unfortunately, James Cook is not one of them. He's a very good running back. Don't get me wrong. And I wonder where that can go. Like that's not like factoring into my process a lot, but it is something that I think about when you're starting to break ties between some players. Like, I don't know, does Ray Davis get a little more extra touches because of that? Because they don't plan on keeping James Cook around after this contract? I don't know.
Or they want to preserve him if they sign him for a big contract. They want to involve Davis a little bit more to, keep him around for the playoffs and make business decisions and investing in their $15 million back. Like we'll give a couple more touches to Ray Davis, maybe, in meaning, maybe meaningless for them, but it's meaningful for us from a fantasy perspective. So James Cook on the fade list for Bradley. Hit us with your next fade there, Wyatt.
So Brian Robinson, and this is a very similar argument that I was making with DeAndre Swift, in that there's only like a week of time where I actually liked his ADP before the NFL draft. A lot of worry that a big running back was going to come in and affect that backfield. It doesn't happen. He's still in like the hundreds, like on Underdog, looking there, using that as a data point. And that was a cool price, but now he's risen up and he's like nearing the 7th round, like same as DeAndre Swift, where it's starting to be this point. Also him, also has someone else in his backfield who could take something from him. Like his is even worse though, because Austin Eckler is going to take more pass catching from Brian Robinson. And we know Jaden Daniels gets involved around the goal line. In fact, he had more carries inside the 5 than Brian Robinson did in 2024. So if that's the case, like we have a 2-down back who's not going to get all the goal line touches. What are we doing here at this price? Like, I don't want to pay that price for 11 points per game. You can do better.
You can find that much later. Brian Robinson, as you said, going in the same spot as we've mentioned Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, like a player that is on my fade list as well. Right after Brian Robinson is neck and neck, and that's Isaiah Pacheco. Like all of these players going right in this spot are like oftentimes fades for various reasons. And so because of limited upside or the backfield's a little bit murkier, or for Isaiah Pacheco, I have concerns that he might not be good anymore. Like when he returned from injury for Kansas City, he did not look good. The film was not good on him, and the stats weren't good either. Like I get that they didn't really replace him. There's Rashad Smith. They re-signed Kareem Hunt. Like Elijah Mitchell was a signing in free agency. There's pieces. And Isaiah Pacheco, I think, still clearly has the easiest pathway, but he was not a pass catcher. He was a hard runner who had injuries. And when he came back this past year, just didn't look good. So yes, he could pay off RB30, but to get to what RB18, RB15 is probably the ceiling for Isaiah Pacheco. I'd rather take bigger swings on players other than Isaiah Pacheco. So maybe sprinkle in an Eli Mitchell, like at that price.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on this one. I think he came back too early from the injury last year, and possibly to his detriment of his career, because you're right. Like he looked terrible. He looked awful. I mean, Kareem Hunt looked significantly better than Isaiah Pacheco did last year, and Kareem Hunt is like absent of juice at this point in his career. So I realize going into this year, the argument is, well, they didn't really add anyone back behind him. Like it's still just kind of Isaiah Pacheco's backfield. And that may be true. But wasn't that true last year when he came back and Kareem Hunt outperformed him? Eli Mitchell, while he can never stay healthy, he is somebody with actual juice. Yes. And if he can stay healthy, I imagine they're going to want to get him involved. They also drafted Rashad Smith, I realize, in the 7th round, but he's another player with actual juice and pass catching ability because he's a former wide receiver. It's just like too much. It's against Pacheco in my mind to want to get in on actually drafting him. He might be fine at this price. He might perform at this price exactly, but it's kind of a what do you win when you win with Isaiah Pacheco? Like, what are you really getting? I don't think it's very high points per game. I'm not really interested. There's too much that can go wrong here. And I think the biggest point that you made, which is just, I believe definitely true, is just like, I just don't think he's the same running back anymore. I don't know if it comes back.
Yeah. And overall for like the Kansas City offense, like they're not the high powered offense that they were years ago. We've got to get the offensive coordinator fired. We need free Patrick Mahomes, free Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid, you know what to do. Wyatt, hit us with your next running back fade.
Yeah, Travis Etienne. Since the beginning of 2024, is there anybody who's had more bad vibes attached to him at this point? Like, it's been rough. Like, he loses a lot of his work last year. Now we've got Bashal Tutin there, who might just be better than him at this point, certainly more explosive, because a lot of his explosion, I think, has been lost during his time in the NFL. This was somebody who the new coaching staff and GM, James Gladstone, like targeted Bashal Tutin. There's been talks that Etienne could be traded. The argument there is that if he gets traded, it's actually a good thing for him. I'm not so sure. There's no guarantee that he falls into a situation where he'd be in a better place than he is currently. I just like, what are we going to get out of Travis Etienne this year? I just don't really know if we're getting much of anything at this point. I don't know if he's like, what's his role in the Jaguars if he stays there? Doesn't seem very inspiring. And like I said, if he gets traded, where is he going where he's got a legit role? Maybe Dallas is like the best option for that. It doesn't excite me a ton.
No,
maybe that's the best. And then his ADP will rise a couple rounds and he'll be going in the 9th round. And it's not that, you didn't miss out on much. So Yeah, I have no interest in drafting him right now.
Yeah, right now, Travis Etienne is going. Oh man, one spot behind Bashal Tutin at 120 overall, so round 10. At the same spot as Javonte Williams, the running back in Dallas. So, like, we're talking about the same vibe type of player, and probably what's holding back Tutin is the fact that Bigsby is there, that Etienne is there. Etienne lost his job to arguably the worst running back in the NFL 2 years ago. Like, Tank Bigsby was certifiably atrocious.
Yeah.
And then that's how bad Travis Etienne was last. And I made Bigsby, sure, he had a couple.
Credit to Bigsby. He looked a lot better last year.
He got better, but I agree with you. The bad juju surrounding Travis Etienne, yikes. This is no bueno. No bueno.
Yeah.
All right. Talk again. Bad vibes in the running back room. Rachaad White for Tampa. He loses his job at the end of the season to Bucky Irving, but then he also sends out like an Instagram message, like one last ride. His mind is already like, I'm out of here, guys. We got one more year, and then I'm going to be a free agent. And it's clear that Bucky Irving has the juice. Rachaad White, nothing more than a handcuff at this point. That's, I think, the simple analysis for Rachaad White is Bucky Irving's now the guy that's coaching staff has handed the reins over to Bucky Irving. And well, Rachaad White's going to be out of a job here in a year looking for a new team. The analysis is simple.
I'm like softly in on Rachaad White because if we accept that he is a handcuff and he's actually the handcuff, like, let me ask you, Bucky Irving goes down. Do you think it's him and Sean Tucker like splitting, or it's Rachaad White and Sean Tucker gets some? What do you think happens there? Mostly
Rachaad White.
Okay. Because I think that's where you have to decide. Like, if you think that Bucky Irving goes down, Rachaad White is getting, 75% of the opportunities in the Bucs backfield, then I think you can be in on his price. He is priced as one of the top handcuff running backs in football right now. Absolutely. So it's a bit aggressive to say he is one of the top handcuffs. But I am softly in on that price, mostly because I think this offense is still going to be really good. And if anything did happen to Bucky, who is an under 200-pound running back, I think Rachaad White would have a decent role. But I think that there's something to be said for having some worry that because like he may not be long for the team, that Sean Tucker would actually be involved more if something happened to Bucky. I mean, Sean Tucker was also extremely good. I mean, there's a world where Sean Tucker has been a fantasy star for us. When he was coming out of college, he was a highly thought of prospect. If it wasn't for health issues,
he had a heart issue, right?
Yeah, a heart issue that made him go undrafted because teams were worried he wouldn't be able to play football. Who knows, right? Like every time he's had an opportunity for the Buccaneers, he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm talking myself out of Rachaad White just slightly right now. We'll see.
Maybe you're talking me into Rachaad White. This is the beauty of these types of things, because I'm looking at the ADPs. Would you have Rachaad White or Ramondre Stevenson?
That is an interesting conversation. Ramondre, but like barely. Mostly, and that's mostly just because like he may have some weekly value, whereas like I don't think you can start Rachaad White unless Bucky goes down. But they're kind of similar if there's an injury around them.
Rachaad White or Jaden Blue?
I'll take Jaden Blue and just cross my fingers that, the unknown upside of the athletic pass catching running back does something when Javonte Williams looks like an elderly person out there.
Last one, Rachaad White versus Trey Benson.
Tough, because I think Trey Benson might not be very good. He did not look very good last year, but the Cardinals I think showed some confidence in the fact that they just kind of like ran back their backfield. That is tough. I will take Trey Benson because I think it's absolutely his backfield if something happens to James Conner. Like I don't think they have another option.
Yeah, I hear you there. Sean Tucker is the real wild card in that Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield that could be putting a wrinkle in for Rachaad White. But Wyatt, hit us with your next fade here.
Yeah, Javonte Williams. this is a very much what do you win when you win scenario. We just saw him last year had the 5th most targets at running back. And what did you get out of it? Not much. Okay. I realize that there's an opening for opportunities here with Dallas, but he's so bad. He's been so inefficient. The Dallas offensive line also isn't quite as good as it has been in the past. I bet they're still an above average unit in the league for sure. You know, they just made a big pick in the first round to, you know, help out that offensive line. But he's just so bad. And like, this is a thing that we do in fantasy football, and it burns people all the time where you say the touches have to go somewhere, right? So people just assume Javonte is going to get all the touches all year. But the truth is he's going to get a lot of the touches to start the season. And then we don't know. Because when he's really bad, the Cowboys are going to try other stuff out, whether that's Miles Sanders, whether that's Jaden Blue. Say he does hold on to a decent role for the Cowboys. What are you going to get? 9 PPR points per game? Like, what's it really going to be? You know? I just I don't think Javonte Williams can beat me by passing up on him in all my drafts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Javonte Williams, in my initial projections at a 45% rush share, but Blue and Sanders like at 22, 23 each. And those are not votes of confidence for how it's going to play out. The pathway for any of those is clearly fragile. So maybe it's someone else that goes into Dallas as well. Javonte Williams.
They could be a Dobbins team.
It could be. Ever since the knee injury, Javonte Williams has just not been the same dynamic player he was in North Carolina. And unfortunately, that's what we're looking at for Williams. And the Cowboys, I think, are going to be reestablishing the pass. They traded for George Pickens. Dak Prescott is back. The lowering of that running back room, I think, is the elevation that we should be targeting maybe Dak Prescott. So there's a hint for future target fade conversations in the quarterback room. I think we should be targeting Dak Prescott at the quarterback. Okay, very good. We've got 2 fades left. If you guys like the content, make sure you smash the subscribe button here on the Player Profiler Plus Network. Follow Wyatt on the X Machine. Wyatt, give us the follows here.
Wyatt B_FF.
And you can follow me at FF Stalder, but maybe not if you hate my Devon Etienne fade here. The fade for Etienne is not a hate of his talent. I think he's extremely talented. But last year, he had an unsustainable target share. He and Jonnu Smith saw significant upticks in the pass catching that we had not seen in previous years. We just had not seen it. I think the scheme changed because of the Tyreek Hill injury. And yes, Jalen Waddle, I don't even know how to read that situation. Like, what is going on there? But the unsustainable target share is the piece that I'm concerned about, because we've already seen soft tissue issues crop up numerous times for Devon Achane. If he's getting heavy workload, my concern is that Miami may not be very good. The offensive line still is not great. And so Devon Achane, he may still get some of the target share. That's part of his skill set, but the amount that he was getting last year is able to justify. I just think it's going to regress this year.
Etienne does scare me. He is a player that can beat. He's another one. He could beat us, and I applaud your boldness here today with putting Derrick Henry and Devon Achane in these fades lists, because both of these dudes could beat us pretty easily by fading them. Etienne certainly could. Whenever Tua was healthy, he was a top 5 running back. Period. Tua's health can be an issue. The offensive line is an issue. It's this team is mostly just running itself back this year, despite the issues that they had. Yeah, I mean, he could beat us, but he worries me just in general. Like, I want to be in on talents like Etienne, who both showed incredible efficiency as a rookie and then a workload that we didn't think he had as a sophomore. But we saw those periods of time where he was giving us nothing because of what was happening around him. And because I still have concerns that could still happen again, I'm not drafting Devon Achane, I'm getting a little bit, I want to make sure that I get some exposure to Achane, but I'm certainly going to be underweight on him. There's just bets around him that I'd much rather take too. I mean, he's directly competing with probably Christian McCaffrey in a lot of places. Right. And obviously he has concerns too, but I have no concerns about the offense around him. Him is just, as long as he's healthy, like I feel good about McCaffrey, and the counts are he is. I also like drafting wide receivers in the general area. He's going like, it's him against like, Drake London and
Lad McConkey.
Lad McConkey, AJ Brown, those types. And like, I'm almost always drafting wide receiver in that spot. I feel much more comfortable with those players than him.
Love it. But you're also staying in the Miami backfield, Wyatt. Tell us about your fade of Jalen Wright.
Yeah, perhaps that's a little odd to not want either of the presumable top 2 running backs on the depth chart, but I just don't really have any interest in Jalen Wright. Coming into the NFL, I thought he was a player, obviously very athletic, but one of these athletic players who needs some refining. Like the offense he played in Tennessee, he didn't have to do a lot of work in that offense. They kind of like designed these really big lanes for him that he was able to run through. I didn't think he looked that impressive as a rookie, if I'm being honest. And I'm not sure that he holds on to RB2 here. Like, I think there's a real chance Ollie Gordon has something to say about that. I really liked Ollie Gordon. I'm surprised he fell as far as he did in the NFL draft. But I think he's got opportunity here to take that job from Wright. And because I'm not confident he's actually the handcuff, I can't draft him. When we're talking about players who their only option for helping us in fantasy is that they're a handcuff running back. If I'm not confident in that, I'm not going to draft you. I would rather draft the other handcuffs that are going around. I'm like, I'm going to take Rico Dowdle over Jalen Wright every single time, and they get drafted near each other.
Yeah, and don't forget Alexander Madison also on this team.
Yeah, who we hate. Like, we hate Alexander Madison, but teams seem to like him for some reason. So there's no counting.
He's a pros pro in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's a pros pro at the running back. He's handled it in Vegas. He's handled it in Minnesota. And, if Ollie Gordon or Jalen Wright fail, they have a veteran back on this team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Miami overall, Wyatt and Bradley out on the Miami backfield for the 2025 season. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you smash the subscribe button here on Player Profiler now. Plus, on behalf of Wyatt, I'm Bradley. Until next time, everyone, good luck in the fantasy football streets.